Change your bed into the most comfortable bed you'll ever own.
Welcome back to my house.
Join Alveda King to see what's cooking and celebrate Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
And thank God that King had a dream.
Available now on Fox Nation.
Will you point down at the QR code?
She just told me. He's like, Will, you have to do Brian's job. I watched the show. Where is it?
It's straight down. You could kick
right
it.
there.
See
I see
right
Brian
there?
do this.
Just open your camera on your smartphone, shine it on that. It will take you. You can download the Fox News app.
Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you, guys. It is 9 o'clock here in New York, 9 o'clock in our nation's capital, and good morning on the cusp of a new era in American politics. We welcome you to the new beginning of America's Newsroom here on the Fox News Channel. I'm Bill Hemmer, sat here for a while. She is
Dana Perino, and I'm brand new. And we aim to bring you the news stories driving the day. We'll have smart analysis. We will have the voices that you've come to trust, plus what those stories mean for you and your family and your community. That's what's most important, as well as our nation in the days and weeks ahead.
beginning it at a very interesting time, too, this program, 2 days away from the inauguration. You and I have known each other for a while now, right?
I don't even know if we want to admit how long we've known each other, but it's been a while.
You said 2003. I thought it was 2005. Nonetheless, it's been 15 years.
It's been a long time.
And the one thing about Dana and I, whenever we get together, it's chatterbox time.
Yes.
Because you love the news.
I love the news.
And I love the news. And you love the analysis. And I love to get your analysis. So we're going to have that.
I think you have great analysis, too. And so this is going to be tremendous.
I would rate that marginal.
So
but thank you.
Yeah, but it was a big day for me, too, right? So I came here right after I left the White House. I had the opportunity to work on the daily briefing as an anchor, but I've never had an opportunity like this, and I'm thrilled.
Wow.
I will say it was a little bit like the first day of school feeling. So last night I was nervous, right? And I had all those feelings. And then you just know something's going to happen on the day of the first day of school. Like something. So this morning, I've been working remote. I get here today. I get dressed and I put my shoes on. I'm like, wow, my feet hurt so bad. And I don't know why they hurt so badly. But I'm getting ready and I'm rushing and I got the papers and we're doing the call and everything. And I walk here to hair and makeup to the studio. I'm like, my feet hurt so bad. Do you know what I did?
I'm assuming there was stuff with newspaper, but
I put my shoes on the wrong feet.
I would not have
And I
guessed.
walked all the way here and I realized it. And when I fixed it, I thought, okay, everything's going to be okay from there.
But your feet are okay now.
They're fine now, but I mean, it was quite traumatic.
So you know, I'm wearing the right shoes, so we're good. It's great to be with you. Our relationship with the public begins now, and we're in for a great ride.
Let's do it.
Welcome, Dana.
Thanks.
All right, now we get to today's news. President-elect Joe Biden set to take the oath of office in just 2 days. His team already unveiling sweeping plans to reverse major Trump administration policies during his first 10 days in office.
And meanwhile, officials in the nation's capital, they're ramping up security ahead of the inauguration. Tens of thousands of National Guard troops standing watch in D.C.
We have complete coverage over the next 2 days and the next 2 hours of America's Newsroom. Dana and I will be in D.C. Tuesday and Wednesday. Britt Hume's here in a moment with analysis today.
Plus, our political panel, Mercedes Schlapp and Chris Hahn. Well, can't wait to talk to them. And Jackie DeAngelis from Fox Business. But let's get it going now with Rich Edson. He's live in Washington, D.C. Hi, Rich.
Hey, good morning, Dana and Bill. And on the other side of the Capitol, you can faintly hear the bands practicing, polishing up the rendition of Hail to the Chief just a couple of days here ahead of the inauguration. Now, between the Capitol, where they are practicing, and there are several layers of security, National Guard police officers right behind me there is a concern, according to defense officials, about the potential for a possible insider attack. What they're saying is, defense officials, that they're working with the Secret Service on which National Guard members here in D.C. may require deeper security screening. The Associated Press first reported that, and our Pentagon team has confirmed it. Now, the government has authorized about 25,000 National Guard for this inauguration. That's at least 2.5 times the number for previous inaugurations. Of these screenings, the Army says, quote, any type of activity that involves violence, civil disobedience, or breach of peace may be punishable under the Uniform Code of Military Justice or under state or federal law. Police say they've made a couple of arrests already at these security checkpoints. A 22-year-old this weekend for carrying a pistol without a license, and then another Friday when Capitol Police said they intercepted a driver who had a handgun, numerous rounds of ammunition, and a non-government credential. The Washington Post interviewed the man. He says he calls the whole deal an honest mistake. He says he got lost rushing to work. He's been a security contractor in D.C. and forgot that he left his firearm in his truck. Meanwhile, Homeland Security officials say they are watching for threats here in D.C. and across the country.
There is a lot more online chatter, if you will, that has come up since January 6th. But I would point out that a lot of that chatter isn't nation's capital focused. It's more general across the country.
The Justice Department continues arresting and charging those involved in the January 6th riot, including the founder of Cowboys for Trump, who reports say had promised to return armed to Washington for the inauguration. Authorities say they have about 300 investigations ongoing and 100 arrests, with more on the way. The National Park Service is also reminding that here on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, the MLK Memorial near the National Mall is closed since they have closed off large swaths of Washington, D.C., including the National Mall. Bill and Dana, back to you.
Rich Edson for us live in Washington, D.C. Thank you.
I want to bring in Fox News senior political analyst Britt Hume, who joins us on day one. And Britt, great to see you again. And good morning. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning to you, Bill, to both of you.
Thank you.
I wish you all the best with your new show.
I appreciate that. And we're going to need you, too, so don't go far. We know this. Ron Klain sent out a memo on Saturday afternoon. We know there'll be a flurry of executive orders. That seems to be the habit between new presidents these days, going back to President Obama and into President Trump. Beyond that, we're looking at a 50-50 Senate. What is the challenge for Joe Biden and Democrats if they really want to pass some of these sweeping programs they've talked about? And conversely, what's the challenge on behalf of Republicans to stop it?
Well, the Democrats with a 50-50 Senate will need 60 votes to pass most legislation. The 60-vote threshold does not apply to court appointments and certain other things, but you need 50 plus 1 to pass most legislation. And the only way they can change that is to, you need 60 to pass most legislation. And the only way to change that would be to eliminate the filibuster. Joe Manchin, for one, on the Democratic side, has said he would not vote to do that. So if that's the case, the filibuster will stand, and any very dramatic sweeping legislation introduced by President Biden and the Democrats on the Hill would face the prospect of being blocked by filibuster. The executive orders you mentioned, of course, can go forward simply on the president's signature, but they only go so far. So that's the situation. That's the challenge that Democrats face, is either winning over Republicans or blowing up the filibuster. Neither will be easy.
Britt, there's a huge pent-up demand by Democrats, and obviously there's a split between moderate Democrats and the progressive left. What, in your experience, would you pay attention to going forward? Like, do they try to tackle some of the things like we're reading about, possibly a big immigration push, possibly canceling of the XL pipeline? They have ideas in terms of, obviously, they have a challenge with the vaccine and distribution of that. What are you going to be paying attention to?
Well, I want to see just how sweeping are the measures that they try to start off with, because it seems to me that it would be smart in this very narrow majority environment, which the Democrats now have in both houses, that they would want to get started with things that they might be able to pass, even with some Republican support. I'm not sure right off the top of my head what exactly such things would be. But, you know, the president has made some pretty strong promises. He said he wants to unite the country. That will not be easy in these bitterly divided times. He has said that he wants 100 million vaccine doses done by his first 100 days. That's doable, I think, but not necessarily easily. And, of course, if on top of that, in his inaugural address and elsewhere, he makes a bunch of other sweeping promises about big things he's going to do, the risk he runs is that he will fail to get them, and he'll be measured against that standard. But the thing, Dana, I can't help remarking on this. You notice what's different about today from about every other day for so long?
Yes.
We're not talking about Donald Trump. The agenda and the news landscape has now shifted. And we're seeing it 2 days ahead of the inauguration. What we're talking about today is all about Joe Biden, the Biden administration, what they can do, what they can't do.
Do you think that continues if they go forward with the impeachment trial in the Senate?
Well, there's no getting around the newsworthiness of an impeachment trial. And I think it's an interesting question about whether they will actually do that, because, you know, if you're incoming President Biden and you're about to make the biggest speech of your life and assume the presidency, you want that to be the news. You don't want the news to be overshadowed by a Senate trial of the former president. Most Americans that voted for Biden would like to see him off the front page. That doesn't mean that he's so bitterly hated that a majority of Democrats may want to go forward with it. But it's going to be an interesting question to see whether they, in fact, do that. I suspect that they will find a way not to.
On your premise, Britt, let's put the attention on Donald Trump. It looks like we're going back in the Paris Climate Agreement. And Donald Trump made it clear over the past 4 years that favored India and China. I think the American people are much more aware of that policy than they were before. In all likelihood, we re-engage with Iran after 4 years of the president and Mike Pompeo sticking the thumb in the eye of Tehran. Well, we will re-engage with that country as well. Joe Biden's going to rejoin the international community, shall we say, and give a stiff arm to the whole America First policy. What's Donald Trump doing during all this? What does he say? How big is his megaphone? Does he have a megaphone? Go ahead.
Well, he doesn't have the megaphone he used to have, and of course his favorite means of communication is Twitter, and he's off Twitter, so he's silenced there. I'm not at all sure that should have happened, but it has happened. So without the presidency and the megaphone that confers on whoever occupies the office, I'm not sure what his means of communication is. I'm sure he'll try to find one, and he'll probably find something. But the next question is, how newsworthy will what he says be compared to what it was? And I'm not at all sure it'll be very newsworthy. He's about to be in eclipse to some extent, and I think a lot of us, we won't have that much to talk about where he's concerned going forward.
We shall see in time. Thank you, Britt. Great to see you on day one. You bet.
Thank you,
Britt. Talk soon. Thanks.
Great to have him. Social media platform Parler suddenly reappearing back online with a brief message indicating it plans to welcome users back soon. Jackie DeAngelis with an update from Fox Business. Hi, Jackie.
Hi, good morning, and congratulations, Dana. Well, Parler's website back on the web with some limited functionality here after being suspended a little bit more than a week ago, not only from the web, but also from Apple's App Store and Google Play. If you go to parler.com, there is a note from the CEO reading, "Hello world, is this thing on?" It's dated on Saturday. There's also a message from the company under a banner called Technical Difficulties that says in part, "We will resolve any challenge before us and plan to welcome all of you back soon. We will not let civil discourse perish." Now, Parler's CEO was on Fox News last night. Listen.
Google, Apple, and Amazon Web Services all agreed that our terms of service were acceptable. They never said publicly or anywhere, as far as I'm aware, that there was any problems with our terms of service and free speech.
Now, this all came in the wake of the riots at the U.S. Capitol, big tech banning Parler. It's a right-wing Twitter alternative, and that was, of course, for allowing messages that they say incite violence. Following President Trump's ban on Twitter, Parler got a lot of attention as a new place to go if users felt that Twitter was unfairly censoring content. And users went there, abandoning Twitter, with many noticing that their follower counts were dramatically lower. Parler's future still uncertain. Its CEO said that the platform doesn't condone or allow violence, yet big tech rivals beg to differ, guys.
Jackie DeAngelis, always a pleasure to see you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So then, want to bring in Mercedes Slav, former White House Strategic Comms Director, and Chris Hahn, host of the Aggressive Progressive podcast, former aide to Senator Chuck Schumer. Welcome to both of you. Wow, is this the way it's going to be, Mercedes? Where conservatives are going to have to battle and push back to get a voice yet again in America?
Well, first of all, I want to say congratulations to both of you.
Thank you.
Actually, I think I've known Dana longer than you have, Bill. So
claim.
Before I even had children. So there you go. But yes, I mean, conservatives are very concerned that their voices will continue to be silenced. We saw yesterday in a clip on CNN, a former Facebook insider basically saying that we need to turn down the access that conservative influencers have to reach large larger audiences. This is very troubling because it shows that big tech is moving towards a more authoritarian model and, in essence, really trying to regulate free speech. So that's very concerning for conservatives, where we feel that we need to continue to address the far left agenda. I mean, and that is where I think we will continue to speak up, continue to be part of these platforms in order to ensure that our voices are heard. Obviously, at the same time, ensuring that we condemn any violence that happens on the far left or the far right.
Chris, if this were reversed, you would not be happy, would you?
I wouldn't be happy, but I think it's kind of funny that all these people who've been yelling socialism and, oh, let the free market capitalists do what they want to do, are now trying to tell private companies what they should or should not do, and they want the government to get involved to regulate that. So I find it ironic. I find it, ignorant, quite frankly, among many people trying to impose the First Amendment on private companies where it does not apply. So look, I believe in free speech. I do not believe free speech is. I do believe in free speech. I do not believe it is absolute. I think that if you are encouraging violence, that needs to be tapped out by this government. And I think these companies are doing the right thing by trying to avoid a platform that will allow people to organize to destroy this country, frankly.
Mercedes?
So, Chris, so you would then make the case that what was happening in the streets in the summertime, that the Democrats did not even condemn the violence that was happening. They were burning down our cities. You saw Antifa and the more of the violent factions of those groups basically going out there and burning down our cities, obviously confronting the police in a violent fashion. And yet Twitter didn't take that down. Twitter didn't take down or censor the Ayatollah. They didn't take down or censor the Chinese government promoting communist propaganda. That's a double standard. It's a complete focus and disdain on this president and on his supporters. And I tell you, in America, when these companies get too big, they need to be regulated. And over 70% of Americans agree that the big tech companies are out of control.
Every major Democrat has condemned the violence over the summer. Every single one. Whereas the president and his supporters spread the big lie. The president and his supporters spread the big lie that led to the riot that tried to overthrow our government, kill our leaders, including Mike Pence, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi. That was happening in right-wing media, and the president spent hours just enjoying it and did not push back until he was forced to by people in his midst.
That is absolutely false. It is absolutely false.
To both
the president condemned the violence.
I think we have reached a moment where it is ripe in this country to have this debate. Unfortunately, you're only getting it here. But Mercedes and Chris, I hope you accept the invitation to come back, and we'll continue this discussion here. Thanks to both of you.
We will, and congratulations, Bill.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Mercedes.
All right, we have more of this, or more to come, I should say. I was just watching with such interest. I loved it. I love this show already. I think it's great. We have a big show ahead as well. The Biden team is blaming the Trump administration for the rocky rollout of the coronavirus vaccine. We have Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar. He will react to that next.
Also, more ahead on threats to our nation's capital with the man in charge in the D.C. National Guard. Talk to him and some other familiar faces joining us the next couple of hours here on America's Newsroom. There they are, and we'll be back after this.
Okay, everyone,